All right, everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about secession, and we're going to talk about some of the big issues that helped lead to these states to secede. We've kind of talked about some of them. This one won't be as long of a note session. There's not as many notes, but I will have some videos for you to take a look at the end. The Lincoln-Douglas debates, we kind of talked a little bit about those before we left. These were the debates for Senate in 1858. Lincoln will lose this one. However, this is the debate that puts Lincoln on the national map, where Southerners for the first time learn of him. They don't like him. A lot of Northerners for the first time do learn about him and do like him. And so these are the debates that make him a household name across the country. Lincoln's famous speech, "A House Divided Cannot Stand," was a speech where he basically says there either needs to be slavery in every state or slavery should not exist in any state. And of course, this angers the South because we know where Lincoln stood. He was a guy that thought slavery was wrong. He thought the founding fathers believed that eventually slavery should disappear. His opponent, Stephen Douglas, believed in popular sovereignty. Let the states choose. Let the people in the states choose what they want. And he thought that the founding fathers did believe in slavery. Last time we talked about the Republican Party being created, and the idea was that they could kind of soak up a lot of the, free soil party candidates or free soil party people, voters, into their political party. It was a northern party. There were no southerners part of the Republican Party. And one of the big things that they believed was free labor. And free labor didn't mean you were working for free. It meant you had a choice where you wanted to work. And they did not want these new territories opened up for slaves because you have these new places like the Dakotas and Montana and Wyoming and Colorado that eventually were going to be created. They weren't around in the 1850s yet, but they were coming. 1858, Minnesota's a state. And they didn't want these to be slave states or slave territories, because then all of a sudden you had maybe a handful of people owning all the land with slaves working it. Where maybe if you open it up like Minnesota, you have tens of thousands of people moving there that are going to work 40 acres of land or 20 acres of land. And that's what they believed this land should be used for. The American way: go out there, work hard, make a life for yourself. John Brown, we saw him on a little video last week. We also saw him out in Bleeding, Kansas, leading some attacks on pro-slavery people. He has another idea. He's going to attack a federal arsenal in Virginia. The name of the town was Harper's Ferry. He's going to lead this attack, some men and some of his sons. The attack fails. His goal was to get a hold of all the weapons in the armory, in the arsenal, and start distributing them to slaves and lead a slave uprising. It fails. A lot of his men are killed, and he's executed. What I'll have for you is a few videos to watch on this. It really kind of speeds up secession. A lot of Southerners are like, we've been talking about secession for 30 years. Maybe we need to do it. How many of these crazy abolitionists are going to come down here and try to arm our slaves? Have you listened to a song? And listen to his last speech that he gave before he was executed. Now, one thing about West Virginia, it did not exist in 1859 when Harper's Ferry Arsenal was attacked by John Brown. It was part of Virginia. But when Virginia seceded, a lot of counties up here in West Virginia stayed. They did not secede. And that's how West Virginia was created, the only state created during the Civil War. Lincoln is nominated by the Republicans for presidency in 1860, and he wins the election. He gets all the northern votes. And if you look at these northern states, they have a lot of electoral votes. 35 in New York, 27 in Pennsylvania, 23 in Ohio. All right, these are big states, lots of electoral votes. You're going to have to win at least 3 southern states to equal one of these states, not even sometimes 4. And so there just weren't enough people in the South. And it's kind of split in the South too. Some of the border states here, Bell wins those. You get Stephen Douglas winning Missouri and some electoral votes in New Jersey. And so Lincoln becomes president, even though he wasn't even on the ballot in southern states. And this is kind of what's going to get the Southerners to start their secession. South Carolina is the first state to secede. They leave the Union, and others will follow. You can see they're very, you talk about the South and the Confederacy. South Carolina had the Confederate flag fly in front of their Capitol building until 2015. Old ways die hard. 11 other states will join, making the Confederate States of America. You kind of see the order they go. South Carolina, 1860, was number 1, then Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas. Those are the first 7, followed by Virginia in April 17th, 1861, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Now, how about these kind of this orange color, peach color? These are border states. They have slaves and they don't leave. They stay part of the North. They are part of the United States of America. We'll talk about those later. Jefferson Davis is elected president of the Confederate States of America. Difference is he's going to serve 6-year term instead of 4, and he's the only one ever elected president of the Confederate States. It doesn't last long, just over 5 years. The spark that's going to start the war, Fort Sumter is going to be attacked. This is a federal fort with United States military personnel and troops inside. South Carolina militia, Confederacy attacks it. After 35 hours of bombardment, they surrender, and Lincoln is now going to declare war on the Confederacy. And Lincoln's justification for declaring war on the Confederacy was not to end slavery. He never says, I want to end slavery, and that's why we're going to war. He says, no, I put my hand on the Bible. I gave an oath to defend the Union, to preserve the Union. And if we don't stop the Confederacy, if we don't stop the southern states from leaving, I'm not preserving the Union. So he says, I took an oath, and now we have to follow up on that oath. And a lot of Northerners felt the same way. They didn't go to war to end slavery. They went to war to put the Union back together again. And I'll have a few links that you can watch to kind of catch up on this. Any extra time, you can work on your IGS self-historical essay. Just a reminder, we are having a test on Friday that was on the board last week. I'll have a study guide posted for you here shortly. Any questions, please email me.